Hey everyone, it's Alex Ball from the No-Till Market Garden podcast. I'm super excited to have Josh and Kelsey on the show. They're two super hardworking flower farmers in Columbus, Ohio, who are growing about a quarter acre of no-till flowers and then delivering a lot of those through a super interesting home delivery CSA. I'm really looking forward to chat with them and to hear more about the systems they have in place and how they're making it work on their quarter acre in Columbus. Before we get too far, I just want to say a big thanks to Jesse for inviting me to be a part of this community. I've been a listener of the show since as long as I can remember, and being asked to record and talk to folks about my favorite thing in the world, which is farming, is a dream come true, not only as a farmer, but also as a millennial who all we dream of is to record podcasts one day. That's the highest level we can get to, is rock star and podcaster. So I'm so happy to finally to be able to do this. We as farmers work so hard in the fields every day, and it's so nice to just get out of your own mind and talk to other growers and figure out what's going on their farms. It's always, I think, to me, a little not only cathartic but heartwarming and a little bit just calming to not feel alone and hear what's going on in the world of farming for other people. So I'm really excited to go on this journey with all of you and to learn with all of you. And at any time you want to reach out to me personally, my email is oldcityacres@gmail.com, or you can just hit me up on Instagram at oldcityacres. I reply all the time, or even feel free to call me. You can go online and find my phone number. Just call me up. Ask me any question anytime. I'm open book. So before I go any further, let's get on to the show.
Today's episode of the No-Till Market Garden podcast is brought to you by Orisha. Orisha is a greenhouse automation company whose mission is to make agriculture more ecological and productive through advanced technology. Orisha automates all temperature, humidity, and irrigation management systems. Their products are designed to be instinctive, easy to install, and wireless, and their remote management application allows growers to save time. In addition, the integration of AI in their programs offers more precision and better control over the various factors influencing the environment inside your greenhouse. Last thing, Orisha wants to help market gardeners optimize their yields. Automating allows a better quality of life, can save several weeks of labor costs, and saves nearly 20% in energy costs. Listeners can use the promo code NOTILLGROWER, that's 3 words, NOTILLGROWER, to get 15% off your order. Check them out at orisha.io. That's ORISHA.io. Today's episode is also brought to you by RIMOL Greenhouses.
Whether it's tomatoes to market, flowers in the spring, or your family's harvest, growing in a greenhouse protected from the weather provides the right environment that you need for a harvest that you can count on. RIMOL Greenhouses are designed for durability and offer the quality that you need to grow productively year-round. Visit RIMOLGreenhouses.com to get a quote today.
If I may editorialize for a second, I own a RIMOL tunnel. I love it. We built it ourselves, and I really appreciated the quality of the tunnel as well as the customer service we received in the process. So make sure to check them out. All right, back to the show.
So I'm super excited today to be with Josh and Kelsey from Wild Prairie Farm. Folks, thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I think we ran into each other, was it at an OFA online group at some time ago, and I found your Instagram page and just like the best photos of flowers I'd seen in a long time, just a beautiful operation and farm. Just to get folks kind of grounded what you're doing. Where are you located? What zone are you in? What size of your farm? What kind of things do you produce there?
Yeah, so we're in Columbus, Ohio, on the south side of town. I think we're zone?
Like 6B?
6B, yeah.
Maybe?
Mm-hmm. And the size of our farm right now, it's only about a quarter acre, so it's quite small. That's what we're developing. And then we have probably another half acre that we'll start developing come spring.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So that initial quarter acre, how long have you all been working that land for?
2.5, 3 years now.
Yeah, I think we started in fall 2019, but it was mostly just moving soil and getting things set up.
Yeah, we've been selling for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So 2 years. And I think I saw online, correct me if I'm wrong, that there are a few folks who worked on the farm together.
Yeah, so it's mostly just Kelsey and I. We run everything full time, and then we have like 2 less than part-time employees that help us with everything.
Oh, nice. That's super cool.
Yeah.
The area you're in, I'm guessing it's fairly urban on some level.
Yeah, it's urban.
Yeah, it's a vacant lot. It's actually a triple vacant. Like there's 3 vacant lots kind of stacked next to each other. And it's like tucked in between houses and trees and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. And do you all own that land? Do you lease it? You rent? What's kind of the deal with that?
We lease that land through the city. It's a program called the Columbus City Land Bank.
Okay, cool. And if I'm asking, how long's your lease there?
It's year to year right now, but we are hoping to get a 5-year lease. Hopefully next year we'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah. Good luck for that. That's fantastic. Was that kind of did it have an effect on y'all getting into other parts of the land as well, or is that just expansion and trying to grow? And is that through that same program as well, or is that through a different program?
Yeah, so the expanded lots are through the same program.
So you said earlier that you have 2 other folks who work on the farm with you, and so are they seasonally? How long are they there for usually?
I would say about May through October. This year at least. We're hoping to do some things earlier next year, but we'll see. We're trying to get more into the early spring crops to help us bring on people earlier, but we'll kind of see when we get there.
Yeah, totally. I feel like it's that constant push of like demand for labor and then like having work for them to do. So I feel like if a few weeks in the early spring, we just have so much stuff to get done. It feels like a little lull.
Yeah.
Fall, you just need like 9 people out there to get things done.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, we've had a lot of volunteers come through and friends and family members help out during those high times. So.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, being able to lead in your community like that is just so valuable.
For sure.
So you're saying you lease that 1/4-acre space. So what kind of infrastructure do you have in place on there? Do you have any hoop houses, wash pack, barns? How do you run your operation?
Yeah, so we pretty much have just a small, like 10 by 12 foot shed for all of our farm tools. So we do everything by hand. It's no-till. So really, all we're looking at is like broad forks and dippers and stuff like that.
Some rakes and wheelbarrows and some garden carts. Yeah.
But then other than that, we, funny enough, we use water from the neighbor's house.
Nice.
It's just like, so we're trying to get our own water, but that gets kind of pricey. So they have been gracious enough to allow us to use theirs, and we kind of take care of their water bill for them. And then, as far as other structures, we pretty much just have low tunnels that we use for the winter, but then we also use them to like hold netting and shade cloth and all of those things.
Yeah. And then as far as like a wash and pack, since it's flower farming, we don't have to like wash anything really. And we do our like actual processing at our home studio, which is 5 minutes north.
Oh, wow. That's super close. That's nice.
Yeah, that was definitely a big advantage of the space that we found through the city.
So that actually answers my next question. If you lived on the farm, but you just read on the street, I don't know much about flower production, but do all of those flowers need to be refrigerated, or do they go direct to their end consumer before they need any type of added refrigeration or anything like that?
They pretty much go direct to the consumer. I mean, we harvest in the field, we bring them home that day, we turn them into bouquets, and they go out the door the next day.
Yeah, wow. We definitely want refrigeration. It's like in the works and everything, but it all takes a little bit of time to get those funds.
Yeah, totally. Those things take just such a long process to get the infrastructure built up. I feel all the time at our location, we got a new space last 5 years, and it took us 5 years to get our walk-in cooler put in at the new location.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
we had some basic refrigeration, but nothing really compares to having like a nice large walk-in cooler.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to build up to that, but like you said, it takes time. So
Yeah, for sure. So you were saying earlier that the product comes in, goes right out to your end consumer. So how are you selling these flowers? Is it mainly CSA, markets, wholesale, weddings? How are you moving all these?
yeah, we kind of have a few avenues that we work with. I would say primarily we actually offer a flower subscription, and that kind of takes care of the bulk of what we have in our field. And then we also do like pop-up drop-offs. So we'll make bouquets and drop them off at local cafes and whatnot. So we drop a lot off at a cafe nearby called Pistacia Vera, and it's also just like 5 minutes up the street. So that's super convenient. And then we also do weddings.
We do weddings. We do have a booth at a farmer's market about 15, 20 minutes away from us that we do. We try to go every Saturday. They've been very flexible with us, just, with all of the ups and downs of the season. Yeah.
Wow. So it sounds like a pretty diversified outlets for your product. So you mentioned earlier kind of like a CSA program. How does that work?
Yeah. So we just have people sign up online basically. And then they can kind of sign up to get either 2 sizes of bouquets, and then they can choose like a frequency of how often they want them. So it can be like every week, every 2 weeks, every month. And then we also offer delivery for that. So some people pick up, some people get it delivered. But yeah, they just sign up, and then we call them and walk them through the details and run them through the whole season.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I bet being close to all those folks in the urban market is a real benefit to having all the customers that are around you.
Oh, yeah. I think it's definitely been a huge factor for what we're trying to do. And it's kind of really like driven, I would say, how we're selling the flowers. I think if we, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, we live in a place where there are tons of really amazing, like boutique cafes, like bakeries, all sorts of different things. There's like general stores and everything around. There's consignment shops. So we've been like really lucky, and there is like a very strong small business community, I'd say, that we've kind of like been brought into. So it's kind of all formed organically around that, I would say.
Wow, yeah. And I feel like that organic growth is always kind of the best growth. It always feels much more stable to me than trying to force a product onto the market when it's not really ready for it.
Sure.
So you said you're 2.5 years in, so I'm guessing y'all started pretty early during COVID. So did your business change that much during COVID, or was it already kind of shaped in as it emerged during that?
Yeah, I would say it started at the exact same time, and we built our business around the pandemic.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I feel like a lot of the farm businesses that started during the pandemic are just not stronger, but on some level has some resilience built into them from the very beginning. They're just used to it already. We're already designed for systems that are halfway failing already.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think we kind of got into market late in the game. I think a lot of farmers actually start at market, but it was kind of the last thing that we pursued.
That's super interesting.
For that. Yeah.
The pandemic kind of like brought about this like porch pickup thing, like a lot of places, and people started doing different like porch-based operations. And we were one of those, and we still like have our subscription pickups and like custom orders and things like that. They have the option of just coming and picking it up at our house.
That's super cool. And I feel like that the pandemic really pushed some of these contactless, let's say more convenient options that folks weren't used to getting at the time and didn't know they really wanted. And now that things are winding down a little bit, I feel like folks don't want to go back to the way it used to be, and I'm really enjoying these flexible, let's say more convenient models.
Totally. And it's convenient for us too, honestly.
Oh yeah.
It's nice. The subscriptions are just like really easy for us, and it's just like the same few people every single week, and just run their orders and drop off their flowers at the house.
That's super cool. That's super cool. How many folks do you have in that program right now?
I think it's about 60 subscribers.
Oh, super. Wow. That's a nice scale.
Yeah, it's the first year that we're doing it. So yeah, we feel pretty good about it. It's usually, I'd say we're pretty tired by the end of the weekend, so I don't think we would want to do more than that. But next year we'll see what happens.
And it's on an alternating cadence too, which is really nice. Like some weekends are really heavy for subscriptions and deliveries, but then other weeks we kind of have it a little easier because not everybody is getting flowers every week. A lot of people are getting them every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, like Josh mentioned before. So.
And do you have any corporate accounts, like any commercial accounts that you supply flowers to on a weekly basis, kind of like the CSA as well?
No, we wanted to do that, but we didn't actually really try that hard to reach out to any businesses, and so we don't have it that right now, but we probably will next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. For folks who haven't seen their Instagram page, it's amazing. It's just a beautiful farm. I was blown away. You'd only been in operation for a few years. Did y'all come in with some previous farming experience before you launched this operation?
Yes and no. We were very avid gardeners, and Kelsey actually worked at Franklinton Farms for a year or so.
A little less than a year. I was in the Vista program, the AmeriCorps Vista program. So, I worked there for a little while, and that's kind of where I learned about the scattered site urban farming method, really.
And I did a permaculture training a few years before. I can't remember. But anyway, so I did some permaculture training. I mean, we've just read a lot about farming and like regenerative agriculture, and like huge fans of like One Straw Revolution and like just like that type of thinking and practices and
like lifestyle. I think it's kind of like our way of like dealing with, I don't know, like changing climate and kind of seeing the consequences of the way things have been done for so many decades now, and just like finding our way to resist against that without like feeling completely burned out.
No, I totally understand that. So yeah, so you came in with quite a bit of kind of baked in experience. So was it a hard time finding this piece of land? How do you end up landing on this space here? Was it a pretty easy journey to find the piece of property, or was that kind of an uphill battle?
No, it's actually super easy. We both used to live in Franklinton, which is a neighborhood nearby, and we had a community garden there that we managed for a few years through the same program. And so when we moved from that area, we were looking for lots near our house, and we happened to find this place a little bit south of us. It was really just the same process of applying, submitting a proposal and plan, and just kind of waiting for some paperwork to go through. But yeah, it was quite straightforward and easy.
Wow, that's super interesting. And are there other farms in your community who are accessing that program?
Yeah, Franklinton Farms actually.
I don't know if they use it so much anymore, because I know that they did get into like land ownership, which is great. But there are a couple vegetable farms that are on land bank properties pretty close in our neighborhood, a few blocks away.
And those land bank properties, you said you're leasing them. Are there any? Is there any opportunity in the long term to buy those properties, or are those properties always just for leasing?
I think it's changed. I think you used to be able to buy them, but I think it might be a little bit open-ended as well.
Yeah, so I'm usually the one that kind of talks to the person in charge of the program, and so he. The 5-year lease is a new thing, but I think it's also maybe a recycled old program. Like they used to allow you to have a community garden for a certain amount of time, make a certain amount of improvements on it, and then you could eventually apply to purchase it. But they did stop that, I think, with the like housing development of the city in general. But I kind of do maybe it's a pipe dream, but I have a small hope that we're doing such a great job keeping up the space that they may make a exception for us, or at least they will be more willing to give us a 5-year lease. So either option would be very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially with those urban farms, it's always. As someone who lost my farmland 5 years in a row to pipelines, to weird leases and stuff like that, that land tenure is always stressful to deal with. I found, especially.
Wow, I can't imagine what that's like.
Oh, I would definitely scream and cry.
But I think it just shows the real issue for small farmers or beginning farmers across the nation is that land access such a serious issue.
100%.
Yeah, I think we definitely lucked out, but I was thinking about this recently. If for some reason we couldn't renew, we'd be in a pretty tricky situation.
We sure would be.
Well, that's not going to happen. You know, the 5-year lease, then they don't offer it to you for a good deal. I see it happening. I never see it.
Exactly. We're putting it out there.
Yeah. So, I saw on your site, and you mentioned earlier that you're doing, no-till is no-till podcast, but you're doing no-till production. So when you got that site for the first time, did you use like commercial equipment to move that first initial compost down your fields? Since you're on a quarter acre, were you bringing in by wheelbarrows? How do you build this your compost up there?
The compost was delivered from a local place called Price Farms, and we get it in bulk, so it's like 30 cubic yards at a time. But other than that, it's just a lot of lifting with the wheelbarrow and strong and tired backs.
Yeah. Okay. So old school style. I like it. That's
Very
how we
old school. Yeah, we pretty much started with. To be honest, we started with dumpster diving cardboard and laying that on the ground to suppress the weeds. We have evolved since dumpster diving. I'll say that.
I think there was a time where I felt like we could definitely like kind of hit the jackpot, but a lot of places have compactors now and we just don't have the time. So we actually did find like some just like pallets of large cardboard boxes on probably Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace.
Something like that, yeah.
We bought it in bulk and we're still chipping away at our giant pile of cardboard.
You mentioned you had a quarter acre of land. Is the whole property a quarter acre, or is that the production area?
The production area. Yeah, actually, it's the production area because it's the compost pile and the shed. It's not included in that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you said you came in first, put down all the cardboard, and then layered up. About how much composting did you layer on top of that cardboard?
Oh, it's been a lot. It's probably been.
I mean, we definitely started with at least 3 inches.
Yeah.
And then have put.
I'd stop counting.
Honestly,
it's been a lot.
Dozens of cubic yards of.
Yeah. Just to get started.
Yeah. And then, with time, broad forking and raking and hoeing and just
adding
repeating
more.
that process and growing.
Mm-hmm.
We've started incorporating cover crops, which has really sped up the process of improving our compacted soil.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what have you been growing for cover crops?
So far, we've only really experimented with buckwheat and rye. So we do the buckwheat in the summer, in between crops if we can. And then we had a lot of success with winter rye. We did that for the first time last winter. We sowed it quite late, but I think in like November, and chopped that down
in like May.
And yeah, we we saw huge improvements and like big healthy plants.
Enormous healthy plants.
Enormous.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Really?
A little scary.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was just the rye, but something happened.
It was bizarre. We had Cosmo plants that were just like over our heads, and these are not raised beds, so it was confusing.
It sounds like a good kind of confusion, though. Like, it's hard to complain about some good production.
Yeah, for sure.
So, besides this, these rye cover crops and the compost, are you adding any type of other amendments to keep your soil nice and fertile?
We tried amendments one time. We did it in like a few beds, and then we kind of stopped doing it. I think neither one of us really believes in it.
Yeah, I think we try to actually more like cut our plants so that the roots stay, and you get like the exudates and the soil structure remains, and there's like, yeah, we really, I don't know. I can't really say that I saw a marked difference in
not
production.
not like what we saw with the rye.
We're not exactly like measuring yields or anything, but like after gardening for so long and growing in the space for a little bit of time, it's kind of like, yeah, this is about the same.
Not worth the cost.
Yeah. And that rye, are you just at the end of the season just cutting it down, laying it on the bed and covering compost, or how are you handling that?
Yeah, we still need to work on our technique for cutting it. I don't think we have a good way of doing it quickly. But I think what do we end up doing?
We bought some like hooked serrated knives. And because with winter rye, I'm sure you know, it's like kind of hard to terminate because it's a perennial grass. So, we would kind of get that hooked knife just under the soil surface and like under that top growth of the grass and yank it and break it there and try to leave as much of the root intact. But yeah, it was very labor intensive and time consuming. So we're still looking for termination methods. So if you have any suggestions.
Well, I'm actually just getting cover up myself. I've only done it a few times on my farm. We've been working the last few years to drain our property to make it even usable. So I'm just myself getting into cover cropping. So this is actually really good information for me. I'm excited to try this in my own place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the serrated knife didn't work well with the grass. It kind of like got in it. So I have hope that like a very sharp, like small sickle that can get like inserted in the soil about like 2 centimeters or something would be better if it was like super sharp and just like not serrated.
Curved.
Yeah. Even though it sounds like a lot of work, it sounds like the results you're getting from this are really worth it.
Yeah, I would say so.
And on such a small scale, like when we say it took forever and it was labor intensive, it took like, a couple hours, which is not great.
Yeah.
But it's also not the end of the world. It's not like days and days spent. Like it just is a little extra time for us.
Yeah, totally. And so I should have asked you, what type of flowers are you producing mainly at your location? Do you have anything you're specializing in? What kind of things are you growing?
Yeah, so we have started with all the traditional annuals that I think most flower farmers get into: sunflowers, zinnias, cosmos, marigolds, amaranth. But we have also started growing roses, which we feel very special about. It's like we tried to find other rose farms in Ohio and can't find any.
They do have, like, they're subject to quite a bit of disease pressure. But it's like, we have to be, I feel like they actually encourage us to use our biological fungicide more because I feel like we are prone to like kind of skipping it or like delaying it. And so it's kind of like imperative to stay up on it with the roses.
But yeah, we're very excited about those just because they're super special. I mean, roses are gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're perennials. So they're some of the first perennials that we have started growing on the farm, which I'm sure too. The perennials are just amazing because you put them in and you're done. That's it.
One-time cost.
Yeah.
Profit for a long time.
Yeah, as someone who works prominently in the annual field, I am very jealous of any type of production that can involve in its perennial. Do you are these roses? I had nothing about this rose production. Do you cover these with plastic with the low tunnel talked about earlier, or are these open field? How are you trying to produce these?
Yeah, they're open fields right now. We could baby them over winter, but I don't think it will be necessary. They're quite hardy. So at most they just need to be pruned, and we can add some straw if we feel like it's getting really bad. But other than that, they are pretty good to go in our zone.
Nice. And how many do you put in? Like, what was the size of the area of roses you put in?
Yeah, right. Well, we've just started with a small amount because the drawback to perennials is that they're quite costly to start. So we had to, purchase each individual plant, and I think the area right now is about 30 feet. It's probably 30 by 30, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good estimate.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're spaced pretty wide apart. So, I mean, it might even be better to like give a count of how many plants, which is like
About 30.
24.
I was going to say 30 plants. Yeah. So it's small. I wouldn't say that we're going to be seeing a lot of yield out of that space. It's kind of like our starter pack of roses. We got a wide variety, and then we allow them to grow and mature this year. And then we'll be cloning them next year, and that will kind of give us our army of roses that we can transplant into our new lots.
And it helps us see which work the best, which varieties like take and produce well, and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like a good kind of test patch, try to figure out what's going to do well, what will market well, what will grow well, and then grow from there.
Yeah, exactly. And also just seeing like which ones even have good base life. Not all roses are built the same, so kind of have to take the time to see who they are.
Today's episode of the No-Till Market Garden podcast is brought to you by BCS America. BCS two-wheel tractors are designed and built in Italy, where small-scale farming has been a way of life for generations. Discover the beauty of BCS on your farm with PTO-driven implements for soil working, shredding cover crops, spreading compost, mowing under fences, clearing snow, and much more, all powered by a single gear-driven machine that's tailored to the size and scale of your operation. We have been using a BCS tractor on our farm since 2014, and it has saved the day and leveled the workload more times than I can count. And I find new ways to employ it every single season. To learn more, view sale pricing, or locate your nearest dealer, visit bcsamerica.com. That's bcsamerica.com. To learn more, view sale pricing, or locate your nearest dealer, visit bcsamerica.com. That's bcsamerica.com. And while you're there, select tractors and attachments on sale through the end of this year.
Transition your mind, your skills, and your future to organic with the University of Wisconsin-Madison's brand new certificate in organic agriculture. Students will explore the organic world from the soil to the store shelf with lots of stops along the way. We'll dig into policy, production, agroecology, supply chains, and much more. Whatever your interest, we'll work with you to fold organics into it. Learn more at uworganic.wisc.edu. The world is going organic. Now you can too.
So one thing I was wondering, especially in the flower world, how long is your main season, and how are you extending that season? Kind of what's the seasonality of the flower business for you?
So right now we really start getting flowers at the end of May, beginning of June, like with our this past season. And it pretty much ends with the first frost. So unfortunately, things just simply don't really flower in the winter. And if there are flowers, they're very, very, very small. Mm-hmm. So, we can't really produce anything over the winter, but we do grow over the winter. And then this year we've got some daffodil bulbs being shipped. They should be delivered tomorrow, actually. So that will push the beginning of our season, so that we get flowers earlier.
Yeah, so we don't have any type of electricity out at our lot right now. Again, we're in year 2, so we don't have that kind of infrastructure. So we really are weather dependent. And the days don't really start getting long until beginning of May. And that's kind of really what kicks off flowering. So even if we do overwinter some plants, like Kelsey said, we grow stuff in the winter. And they'll survive the winter, they'll get mature, but it's not really until end of April, beginning of May that they will start like shooting up flowers and, kind of stretching and doing their whole thing.
Yeah, the day length is really big in that part of it, where it's like if there's not a long enough day, the plant is not triggered into flowering.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I would say, it's a good 6 months right now that we have flowers.
Okay, yeah. And do you find those overwinter crops specifically? Do you have problems with any type of like aphids or overwintering pests on those, or do those even affect the flower production? What are some of the major pests you're dealing with out there?
Yeah, I would say we don't have any pests during winter. Our biggest pest month is like July, August. And it's the typical stuff. It's a lot of aphids, but not too many this year, I would say.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of aphid pressure, but cucumber beetles are a
Huge.
very annoying problem for us.
Yeah, huge. The cucumber beetles, I don't know if you have them for vegetables, but for us, they love eating flowers. So we can find entire rows of things with just like bullet holes in it.
Yeah. They will eat a sunflower before it even opens.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea they did that.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Do you have cucumber beetle issues? I actually don't know how they impact the vegetable world, but with a name like that.
Yeah, I guess they eat cucumbers.
Yeah, they're really bad in the vegetable world because they spread wilt, which is a disease that gets on cucumbers or all cucurbits and kills them overnight. So especially, so I'm out in a swampy area, which means because of that, our ground is warmer in the winter. So we overwinter those beetles really easily here. And they're a pretty rough pest, especially on cucumbers. We'll have days where we'll lose a plant to 2 plants a day. Especially on a small scale, you can't afford to hit those big losses daily. It's gotten to a point for us, for cucumbers, that we may even outsource them to another farm down the street to grow for us. It's that bad.
Right.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that. I think the other pest for us is hogs.
Groundhogs are a huge pest.
God, they're so
We've lost so many sunflowers to one groundhog, just one creature. But we haven't had the heart to do anything about it. Luckily, though, kind of in a weird twist of fate, he did die recently. So
seemingly of natural causes, or maybe we joke high cholesterol because he ate so much of our crop.
Oh no, he gorged himself.
Yeah, he ate himself to death, I think.
I think so. No, I think it's old.
We
have a fence to keep him out, but we fell behind on fence maintenance, and I have learned my lesson.
Yes.
You cannot fall behind on fence maintenance with groundhogs.
Yes, you have to be vigilant.
How much damage do you think we had this year from the groundhog?
I mean, I would say over $7,000 if you account for like employee hours and materials to repair the fence and all the seed money and flowers we didn't sell. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was probably like, I think it's just like, it started one day, it was fine for 2 years, and then one day he found a way in.
And it was over.
It was over. He just wreaked havoc, and it was probably over the course of 6 weeks that we were trying to redo our fence. But we couldn't just stop everything that we were doing. We had to keep the farm going. So yeah, he did some damage.
Well, I'm glad he's gone for now. I'm glad it's taken care of. As soon as the season ends, those issues kind of wrap themselves up, don't they?
Yeah.
It's so great.
It's so great.
I understand that pain. We've been having them all year long at our property, which is a new thing for us because it's been so dry. So they kind of moved into our surrounding territory. And today I went out to my field right before I walked in to record the podcast. I saw it run through the field. I went, oh, gotta take care of that now. Another issue to deal with.
What do you do for groundhogs?
Yeah, so I've kind of you kind of have to. What I found is mix between like live traps and we use some like foothold traps, which I don't like to use, but it's one of those things. Again, $7,000 the damage, or groundhog being uncomfortable for a little bit. It's a hard way out. But yeah, mainly those foothold traps is kind of what I found are the best option. And then we check them, 3 times a day to make sure that the animals, taken care of humanely. There's absolutely no guarantee that even putting the traps out will do anything to stop them. So it's definitely an uphill battle.
Right. The fence that we've built seems to work really well. I don't know what your scale is like, or if it's feasible but we're only the 1/4 acre, and it's worked really well. It's like a C-shaped chicken wire fence. So you can imagine there's like 2 feet of chicken wire on the ground, like facing outward, and then it goes up like
4 feet.
4 feet.
Well, now
it's 6 feet now because we
made it taller.
we made it taller. And then there's like another foot or 18 inches kind of like curved like a C going towards the outside of the fence.
In the same direction as the bottom part. And so basically the groundhog theoretically tries to climb it, gets to this loose chicken wire up top that's like flat or like curved towards it and outside the fence, and they get all confused and fall off.
Right.
I imagine it's very funny.
Yeah, it seems to do the trick.
Yeah, when there's no holes and when the forest isn't like consuming it down to the ground.
Yes, then it works.
Oh man, and I kind of feel like that these issues always come up like in the height of the season, like in July and August, when you're trying to do some of the other issues, and it's so hard to priority to try and fix this issue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not good timing.
It's for sure. There's a lot of Japanese honeysuckle and like invasive grapevines. It's very invasive species around the farm. Beautiful in their own way, but yeah, they grow very fast.
Yes, I can see that they would kind of pull on that fence, make it make it less effective by the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. So you said that groundhog did about $7,000 worth of damage, which is just that's a lot of flowers to lose. How maybe it's kind of a little bit, but at your operation, how do you see profitability? You know, how do you see the long-term success of your business? How do you define it? What's profitable for your operation?
Yeah, I would say you kind of cut out there, but I think I heard the question. You're asking like what's profitable for what we're doing. And I would say, honestly, the subscriptions are very good for us. I feel like it's more on our level. Like we kind of want to be more like everyday florist. And second to that are the weddings, I would say. Just being able to work with people individually and, they're sometimes asking for a lot, so that can be a good thing for us, obviously. And it kind of gives us another opportunity to like flex our design muscles, which we both really appreciate.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Did when you started doing the CSA bouquet, was that kind of like is that kind of like the light bulb like moment of your business so far? Has that been kind of like the big outstander?
Actually, maybe yes, because I would say that and the drops, which kind of feel like the same thing. It's when we drop off at the cafes, it's kind of like a business CSA, I would say, in a way. I mean, it's really just been working through it and kind of seeing what we like and don't like. And I think at a certain point we did realize that we wanted to be more casual and kind of, I kind of feel like the neighborhood flower place.
It's not like the nice place to be at, just to have a place in the community as the local flower shop, the florist.
Yeah, it's been really nice, and I think it really allows us to get to know our customers, and then I think like forming that kind of like really consistent relationship where like, I feel like our subscribers were really happy with pretty much everything they got this year. So I feel confident that a lot of them will come back. They'll tell their friends.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we definitely feel, like we want to be more neighborly in that way and small scale. We're not really interested in any kind of like shipping or national orders or any of that. That's kind of like out of our interest. I would hate to see if we have to do that. You never know, but
I kind of doubt it though.
Yeah.
Like, there is a very large flower farm in Columbus, and we actually outsource and supplement our own harvests with flowers from them, and they do really well, but they, even with their like 10 to 15 acres that they produce off of, they sell out. Like there's a really big market for it, and it's not totally filled. So
Yeah, I totally agree that I think satisfying that truthfully immediate local market is so much more valuable in the long term than stretching out as far as you can and trying to hit the highest value customer possible, instead of just investing in those local communities and trying to keep us close to home as possible.
Yeah, I mean, if we could just deliver flowers within the neighborhood, that would be great.
We were very idealistic when we started, and we really thought like we're only going to sell within like this radius, and obviously we didn't stay true to that at all. But
we haven't left Columbus.
But we have definitely left our neighborhood.
Yeah. So do you both work on the farm full time, or do you work off farm as well?
We both work on the farm full time. Kelsey also has a day job.
A full-time day job.
I would say I work on the farm. I would say I work on the farm double time.
Yeah.
Kelsey's job.
Yeah, I work from home, so that's really nice. And I have like a job that is fairly like low stress. I'm not in like any sort of like high stakes position, so it has worked out. But I will not say that I'm not tired.
I don't think any farmer has ever said they weren't tired. I think it's our go-to.
Can you imagine? Tell me what you're
with all this, double shifts at the farm and the shift outside of the farm, how are you balancing your personal life, your farm life? How do you find the balance in all that?
Yeah.
I kind of just like ask my friends to hang out with me at the farm. Like, hey, just come over and like hang out with me while I maybe kind of sort of work. It's fun. I don't know. I enjoy it.
Yeah. I think we also both have more perspective that, like life is, how do I say this?
Life kind of, I don't want this to sound depressing. It's not what I mean at all, but life is work.
Life is work. And,
it's working with your hands, making pierogies.
Yeah,
or like
making a pie.
I'm making garlands right now. Like, and it's
exactly.
It's like the quintessential shell and beans on the porch.
I think when we first started, we were really separating work and life. And I think that actually did more harm than good. And I think once we started to kind of feel more like the farm is our life and we're just there, we're not there. We have days where we're working all day. Some days are slower and we don't do anything. We just lay on the couch and watch TV.
And we're like participating in something that feels bigger than like the business or the profitability or the bouquets or the design. Like, at the end of the day, we do try to remind ourselves like why we're doing it. And it's ultimately a relationship with nature, insects, animals, even the groundhogs. Like, I don't know. For whatever sick, twisted reason, we love it.
No, I totally understand that. I feel like it's my life, like many farmers, is like a mix between like sweaty, hard, all day manual labor, and then just like hours of quietly by myself watching TV, just trying to recoup for the hard labor.
Exactly.
And it's just not so bad at the end of it all.
No, not at all. And like I feel like me personally that I'm like, oh, when I get, I'm going out every night, I'm doing this, doing that. And now I'm just like, I feel old now. Like, oh, let's put on NYPD Blue or something. I don't know what old people watch, put on the TV for a little bit, and just sit back for an hour.
Yeah.
Oh man. So I think I'd really maybe just to wrap things up on some level. I just want to know, is there anything that's laying on your minds recently? Anything about farming, activism, food access, anything that you come across that you want to chat about? Here's the platform. I'd love to share what's on your heart.
I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is pricing. And it's a funny thing, right? Because I think that with flowers, and I'm sure you see the same thing with food, it's everything actually, because it drives your business. I mean, without proper pricing, you're out of business. And so like with flowers, what I've noticed is we're definitely conditioned, I would say, in this country to want things for dirt cheap or free. And that's obvious. We all know that. But I would say this has been an interesting journey for us to like be up against that. And I would say, like we're doing okay and we sell things at what we feel like is at a fair price, but it's hard. And I feel like there isn't a lot of conversation around what it's like for farmers and how things actually do need to be priced. Because if we're being totally honest about the level of difficulty and the amount of money that we need to like literally just live, these flowers would cost 3 times more than they do. And I don't think people would want to hear that. And I mean, I wouldn't even want to hear that, honestly.
I say all the time, we can't even afford our own product.
We can't even afford our own product. And that's a real funny situation to be in.
Yeah, and I think it's not only funny, but I think it's a reality for a majority of agricultural producers is that the products that we make ourselves, these beautiful, amazing, delicious items, if we were to go to a store, we could not afford them. I think that's a reality for a majority of producers out there. And it's something that I think weighs heavily on my heart personally. And I know it's not something easy to deal with. And there's always that pushback between, raising prices to survive and making this this beautiful thing that you spent your life working on, whether it be flowers or a zucchini or whatever. You want someone to take that home and love it and cherish it. And sometimes it's hard to balance out, the me getting paid or the flowers finding a nice home.
Exactly. And then there's the other side of that, which is then you want people to have access.
Be able to afford it.
And be able to afford it. And so it's real tricky. I think that it's something that we're trying to work out and figure out how we can kind of be on both sides of that.
Yeah, I feel that that's a balancing act that will always be going through, especially in the last year or so with the inflation rising. I was looking around saying, are we going to see farmers raising their prices? We're going to see an increase in these agricultural commodities. And at the market, especially in other CSAs, I'm just not seeing prices increase, which on some level, good, if local food is still as accessible or even more accessible than before, but also we all know the increase of production is just being pushed onto those to the producer.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely a serious issue. I don't know about you, but I feel like talking about the finances of our farms, the finances of agriculture, the reality of those working in the field, not only do folks not understand or really don't want to hear it, we don't really want to know where not everyone, but we don't care about the Amazon delivery driver. We just care about the package arriving. So it's kind of hard to change that mentality, especially with commodities like flowers or produce that are we've been trained for such a long time to expect them to be, borderline free or at loss.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's really we're touching on the margins of a huge, wide-reaching issue where we're just kind of as an entire species in a race to the bottom. We want things to be as cheap as possible, but we also want to have a good life and everything. And then we don't want to pay people, not me personally, but it is in every aspect. Kind of like you mentioned with the Amazon delivery driver, it's impacting all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I joke around all the time. We go to the farmer's market, and there's always 10 or 11-year-olds at the market, bloodshot eyes, have been up harvesting zucchinis. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. You're like, man, there has to be a better way than this. There has to be a better way than this happening for forever.
Yeah.
Well, that was I really appreciate bringing that up. That's definitely something that's not talked about enough and as often. Besides your amazing Instagram and beautiful pictures on there, is there anything you want to plug? Anything that you want people to know about? How to get a hold of you?
No, I would say our Instagram's a great way to find us and figure out what we're doing. Other than that, our website, which is just wildprairieflowerfarm.com. And we, mostly that's just for people to find the basic info and reach out if they have any questions.
We do still have a GoFundMe that's open.
We do still have a GoFundMe for.
I just remembered.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about it.
It's obviously been a while since we prioritized it, but it's still open. So there's a GoFundMe. I think it's linked in our Instagram bio, in our link tree, and we still love receiving donations there.
What are y'all funding?
So we're still working with the basic infrastructure. So that's really what we're trying to find money for. So greenhouse, a walk-in cooler, maybe a delivery van, main water line would be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, okay, then I'll throw a link in the bottom. Yeah, I totally understand. Okay, cool. Well, we'll throw that link in the bottom of the notes description, and if folks want to toss a few butts your way to help y'all keep growing, it'll be fantastic. Josh and Kelsey, thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. It was really lovely meeting you and chatting about everything.
Yeah, thanks so much. We really appreciate it too.
Oh, great. Y'all have a great day, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, you too.
A big thanks to Josh and Kelsey from Wild Prairie Farm for coming on the show again. There's two super cool farmers out there in Columbus, really making it happen on our quarter acre, using some solid systems to deliver local flowers to people's homes. Amazing what they're doing out there. So if you want to follow more of them, make sure you follow them on Instagram at Wild Prairie Farm. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to email me anytime at oldcityacres@gmail.com or reach out to me personally on my Instagram at oldcityacres. Okay, y'all. Thanks for listening and have a great day.
Hey, you all, just jumping in real quick to drop some news and some shout outs. First, the news is that we have brought the beloved No-Till Growers Forum back online in a slightly different format where you can embed videos and post photos and all those good things. You can ask technical farming questions, post tools for sale, job or collaboration opportunities, discuss trends, whatever growing stuff you'd like. You can find the forum at notillgrowers.com. We will also put a link in the show notes. This forum, like everything we do, is free and open to the public. We do not do the paywall thing for any of our videos or podcasts or anything else that we do. That is basically how we operate. So if you appreciate that and you want to support our work, you can always become a patron at patreon.com/no-till-growers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, you get a shout out on the show. So big shout outs this week to these amazing folks: Scott Roser, Rob Soma, Sean at All About the Garden, Bob, Paul Gagne, Joseph Sanguinetti, and anyone, including Joseph, if I'm saying your name wrong, let me know. I'll shout it out again. Greg Kelly, Bill Altman, Ian Grindstone Farms, Danny Rodriguez, Alex Savatsky, Pear Tree Hill Farm, Steve Burr, Stephanie and Alex of Blue Berwyn Farm, Stephen Smith, Ojai Roots, Scott Harris, Silcott, Earth Care Farmer Jane Murner Cynical, Asia Smith, Tony Lopez, Clement, Thomas Eliason, Judson Taylor, Grown Up Farm, Jacob Arthur, Bob and Ann Patton, Jared Kirst at Rivendell Farm, Jay Armour, Dan Breezebois, Jay McCombs, Tim Baldwin, Esoterra Culinary, Steve Larson, Fiona and Donnie of Firefly Farms, and Jen Lawrence. Huge thank you to everyone who supports our work in whatever way that you can, including we have hats back. That's right, the No-Till hats are back. You can snag one over at notillgrowers.com. They're awesome, you're awesome, and we'll see you next week.